Okay, so here we are once again talking about the future of the Vikings and Kirk Cousins. And the rumor slash speculation of the day, the whole reason that we're even talking about this is because Mike Florio went on a radio show in San Francisco. I'll put up what he said on the screen right now so that you can read it because I don't want to regurgitate it word for word. But essentially, he is saying that the connection between Kyle Shanahan and Kirk Cousins and the 49ers is still within the realm of possibility, and he suggests that it would be a good trade for both parties involved, the Vikings and the 49ers, for the Vikings to trade Kirk Cousins to the 49ers in exchange for who knows what at this point. So, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, my opinion of Kirk Cousins is well documented. I mean, just go watch any of the videos on this channel. You'll know how I feel about him. I think he's good. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he pads the stat box a little bit. Do I think he's going to take us to the promised land? No, I don't. I don't believe that he has the skill set or the tools available that you see for modern era NFL quarterbacks that are currently making their way to the Super Bowl. He's not a Josh Allen. He's not an Aaron Rodgers. He's not a Tom Brady. And he's definitely not a Patrick Mahomes. He's probably one step below all those guys, maybe two, maybe three. Would he be an upgrade for the 49ers? Absolutely. I do think that Kirk Cousins is good enough to make that team better if he was to be the starting quarterback in 2021. Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, those guys are not the future. They're not the answer. They got lucky that they got to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago with Jimmy Garoppolo as the starter. But I think if you go back and watch the game, especially late, that they lost that game. Well, that was actually last year. That wasn't a couple of years ago. That was last year. They got lucky because they had a really good defense. They had the number one pass defense. Did not have anywhere near the number one passing offense. I don't even think they had a top 10 passing offense. And if you watch that game late, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the reasons why they weren't able to catch up because he just doesn't have it. Kirk Cousins might have it to a better degree than Jimmy Garoppolo, and that could be why they are still so enamored with him. Because let's not forget that Kyle Shanahan, when he originally took that job in San Francisco, that was one of his key priorities, was to get Kirk Cousins to come with him from Washington because they spent some time together in Washington. Shanahan was the OC. I believe he was originally drafted by Mike Shanahan in the fourth round the same year that they got Robert Griffin III. So, yeah, he definitely still believes that Kirk Cousins is his guy. Why that is, I don't know. I don't think he is, but, Kyle Shanahan is an offensive coordinator or is a head coach for an NFL team, and I am not. So there is that. Now, is this trade realistic? Yes, it's actually much more realistic than the Deshaun Watson trade that we discussed a week ago. This isn't bringing in an elite caliber quarterback and sacrificing the future or all of your draft capital for it. This is completely different, other end of the spectrum. Deshaun Watson is an elite top 5 quarterback already established as a Pro Bowl, can win you a Super Bowl type of quarterback with the skill set necessary to elevate the talent around him and do things with the football that we can't even really possibly fathom unless we see it on tape. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, those guys aren't in the same wheelhouse as Deshaun Watson. That's why it would be much, much harder, in my opinion, to simply swap Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson and call it a day. It's not realistic. And I understand that I said originally that Deshaun Watson was likely staying in Houston. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It looks like he is on his way out with a bunch of teams that have the cap space and the resources to make that trade. Minnesota's not one of them. So where does that leave us? Well, you're either in one of two camps, right? You're in the defend Kirk Cousins camp where you believe that he is good enough to win the Vikings a Super Bowl, and you don't want to besmirch him by saying, we're going to trade him, and that's the end of it. Why, is it entirely possible that he gets traded and wins a Super Bowl with the 49ers? Yeah, absolutely. Would that sting a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. Would it be wrong of the Vikings to do that? Would it be like, oh, hey, look what you gave up. Don't you feel foolish now? No, 100% no. I don't believe that Kirk Cousins can win a Super Bowl with this team, with this coaching staff, with this offensive philosophy. It's just not built for him. They try to incorporate things that he's really good at, like play action pass and all that other stuff. But he could have greater success elsewhere. And you know what? If we really do think he's a good quarterback, you would be pounding the table for that to happen. I think right now he's just a really expensive stopgap where the original intent was that he was the missing piece 3 years ago and they signed him to a contract. They're like, hey, now we're going to win. This is what we were missing. Goodbye, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, and Sam Bradford. It hasn't happened. It's been 3 years. We're going into year 4. We have 1 playoff appearance, 1 win, and 2 years where we missed the playoffs. I think it's time to move on, especially as his contract gets more and more and more expensive. He's going to be I believe, a $41 million cap hit in 2022 when he turns 34 years old. We need to get out from this contract before that ever gets close to happening. So I think if the Vikings, or if anybody else believes that he is not the one to lead this team to the promised land, now is the time to get out of it. You know what he is. He's been in the league 9 years. He's not going to get better than this. I understand he has really good games and he's really capable of having really good games, but it's the inconsistencies that bother me the most, and it's the fact that he gets paid a lot of money to just be very good and not great. So that's where I stand on the entire situation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you trade Kirk Cousins to the 49ers? What would you want in return? What would be your plan B at quarterback if you were to do such a thing? Because remember, right now, I don't think getting Jimmy Garoppolo in return is ideal unless you really just want to punt 2021 and work towards the future. We currently pick 14th in the draft with no second round pick, so we don't have a lot of leverage to trade up into the top 10 for a quarterback like Trey Lance or Zach Wilson. I don't want really to spend a first round pick on Mac Jones or Kyle Trask because those guys to me scream career backups, at least my opinion. So, what would be your plan B? We're not going to throw Sean Mannion out there. So yeah, what would you ask for in return? Would you want a second round pick? Do you think you could get a first round pick from Kirk Cousins? Is there a defensive player on the 49ers that you think we could maybe take away from them that they'd be willing to part ways with? We need a lot of help on the defensive line. We need help at corner. Maybe they would be willing to part ways with Solomon Thomas at this point. That would be interesting. So yeah, let me know what you think about this, and we'll keep tabs on this and, of course, any other trade speculation, free agent rumors, and draft stuff as the offseason goes on. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.